John Anik and Kenny Florian podcast. John Anik and Kenny Florian.
I f***ing love them. I can't get enough of them.
Let's hear that Boston next.
Big jab there from Duffy, and Frank Mir is hurt now. Down goes Duffy, out cold. Frank Mir does it again. Rock'em sock'em robots here. Oh my goodness.
Hyperbole. They're a couple of absolutely self-involved bullshit artists.
Here are your hosts, John Anik and Kenny Florian.
Headshot bang.
Oh, headshot bang is right. Reveal day on the Anik and Florian podcast. I did not get new breasts. Kenny Florian has worn a hat for the last 100 episodes. He's not wearing a hat today, folks, and you look fine, Ken Flo. It's good to see you, my man.
What's going on, dude? Yeah, the hair's starting to grow in now, man. It's growing. Look, Ma, it's growing. But yeah, so not as bald. I'm doing a little big reveal today. So yeah.
So I'm going to call on my co-host Kenny Florian and my producer Cody Mero. Cody, you can give Kenny the full screen if you're so inclined. Kenny, can you just lean in a little bit and just show us? Oh,
it's coming
yeah.
in. It's getting there. It's getting there. So this is where it starts to grow. So maybe I'm ahead of schedule a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. So yeah.
Either way, I mean, it's darker than a struck match. That's amazing, right?
Thank God. I do have some white hairs, though, hidden in there. But yeah.
Notice how I'm not asking Code Blue to zoom in on me and the white nature of my beard. It's great to have everybody with us. If you don't know, and most of our loyal, faithful, devoted Anik and Florian podcast listenership knows that Ken Flo went wheels up to Turkey for a hair transplant, and you look outstanding. It's good to see you. We just convened on Friday, and we are back on Monday, and this is sort of what it would feel like if we had a daily show. So I don't need any further comment, Your Honor, but I want you to just think about what it would be like to, do a show on Friday. There was so much to talk about, and now we're here on Monday, and there's also a lot to talk about. When we've talked about going 5 days a week in the past, and I never know how I'm going to open the show, did not intend to do it this way.
Right.
But when we've talked about going 5 days a week in the past, the MMA news cycle and the 25-8 nature of it is never the issue. There's always a lot to talk about, not the least of which is your new lettuce. But thank you to everybody joining us live or after the fact. It is Monday, September 29th, 2025, episode 569 of the Anik and Florian podcast. I wish 6-7 was all the rage when we did episode 567 of the Anik and Florian podcast. And if you don't know 6-7, just wait for the UFC telecast this weekend when I drop a 6-7 on you. I have teenage daughters. I've been learning about some slang, some lingo, right? Like D-I-H means dick. And what is it, like Sabau, like shut your bitch ass up, S-Y-B-A-U? It's not that my daughters are texting their friends that, but yeah, my favorite is dick. I want to get a t-shirt that says such a dick. D-I-H. All right, so great to have everybody with us. 569th iteration of the Anik and Florian podcast here on the DraftKings Network, DraftKings YouTube channel. Everything repurposed for the most part after the fact on that Anik and Florian podcast YouTube channel as well. So Carlos Ulberg stole the weekend. We will talk about him to be sure. We will also give you our full throttle UFC 320 preview because the rematch between Magomed Ankalaev and Alex Pereira is now just a few days away, and Merab Dvalishvili, in the year of Merab, puts his title on the line for the third time in 2025. So to that end, Ken Flo, I don't know if you have your shot glass today. I don't mind doing two for us, but I did chill mine today, right? Because we went straight from coffee to Cristalino. So I did chill it today. But we start our pay-per-view episodes, as always. And we will do this next year for the numbered events when they are not pay-per-views on Paramount Plus by celebrating just how amazing these pay-per-views are for UFC fans around the world. It is our Cuervo first shot of the fight weekend. And, this buzz is going to leak into the rest of your day. Cheers, Ken Flo. Congrats.
Cheers, my friend.
Yeah. It just goes down. It goes down and lays the foundation for the rest of the episode, thanks to Cuervo for the first shot of the weekend. So, Kenny, your pick is coming up at the end of the program.
Yes.
Off the top today, I would just like to ask you to call on your otherworldly recall. Tell us who you picked in the first meeting between Magomed Ankalaev and Alex Pereira and how you think that first affair might affect what we see this weekend.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, I picked Pereira and said I do have something in my gut about Ankalaev potentially playing spoiler, and he did just that. I think that I don't think we saw the best of Pereira in that fight. There was talk about injuries, there was talk about maybe his training camp or whatever, but I gotta say, it's a much closer fight than I think people remember. I actually had Pereira winning that fight by a hair. I think it kind of comes down to round 3 for me, but it was an awesome fight. Just some great stuff from both men in all aspects, and I can't wait for the rematch, man.
Hey, Code Blue, if you'd be so kind as to chase me those scorecards, I really appreciate it. And again, I just eliminated the F word in front of scorecard for everybody paying attention at home. So I have all the numbers. I don't have the scorecard, but I have the numbers from the first fight between Alex Pereira and Magomed Ankalaev. Significant strikes, Pereira 76 of 137. Ankalaev was 94 of 180. Significant strike percentage, very similar. 55% for Pereira, 52% for the slightly busier Magomed Ankalaev. You recall the takedown column was 0 for 12 for Ankalaev, but that doesn't really tell the story, right? It was just mixing the martial arts and putting his style of fight and pace on Alex Pereira. He did amass 5 minutes and 42 seconds of control time, and I don't think there's anything else really of note. Ankalaev realized more success in the clinch, was more active in the clinch. Very similar numbers at distance, but again, the accuracy of Alex Pereira at light heavyweight is just insane.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the most accurate striker in the history of the UFC. So the scorecards, Kenny, there they are for all of you folks. If you're audio only, it's 48-47 for Ankalaev for Derek Cleary and Mike Bell. And then Sal D'Amato had a little bit more wide Ken flow. Ankalaev taking all 4 rounds for the 49-46.
Yeah, I don't on Sal's card, I definitely don't agree with round 5. I think round 3 certainly could have gone either way. And, I was talking to Cody prior to the show on the importance of the perception of pushing your opponent backwards. And, if I am, let's say, not throwing as many strikes, and let's say I'm throwing 2 or 3 less strikes than the guy that is moving back, but I'm the guy that's pressuring forward, it is going to be perceived that I am winning the fight just based on my ability to kind of take up territory in a way, or at least limit them to a certain territory. And I think that really helped the case for Ankalaev winning that fight. Now, it was certainly close. I'm really curious to see what Pereira does in that rematch to kind of prevent him from getting backed up. And of course, you have Ankalaev, who is both a tremendous striker and a threat when it comes to takedowns as well.
Yeah. All right, Ray Longo coming up in 20 minutes. So, Kenny, around the time when we started this podcast, I think it was the time when, like, men and women worldwide were fawning over your hair. Like, that was actually an era. No, I'm serious. I'm not trying to be funny. I'm not laughing. You're laughing. There was a time when people would like fawn all over your hair, and you always had a broadcast partner for the most part who shaved his head by choice. So
yes.
Can I ask you, are we growing this out? Like at some point, will you go see a barber, I assume, right? You will see a barber at some point, right?
Yeah, no, I went, I guess a couple weeks ago before I went on vacation. So I'm still getting it cut, but this has some growth to do still, but I probably will eventually let it grow, man, while I can at some point,
And last question.
Yes.
The jiu-jitsu room in your house.
Yes.
When was the last time you went in there?
Oh my gosh. I do some stretching and exercises from time to time. I'll go in there with the kids from time to time, but it's been a little while. Not as consistent as I would like, dude.
It's great having an exercise room though, to be sure. Yeah. All right. Anik Florian Grappling Championship coming in the future. We're working on our rule set right now, right? You see Gus is repping Dirty Boxing today with the DBX hat. And
he looks jacked.
Eventually in the not too distant future, Anik and Florian fighting championships. We're just trying to figure out the rule set. There will be striking though.
I love it.
All I know is I won't be commentating. I'm going to be walking the floor with an IV of Hendrick's gin. Because when fight night arrives, I see so many people fucking hobnobbing around the octagon, having so much fun. And not that we're not having fun. We're having the best time in the room, right? But yeah.
You want that side of things. I get it.
Just for it.
Yeah.
I go to Contender Series a couple of weeks ago, sort of laid back in the cut. Initially, they didn't let me in, though, so it let me know exactly how. All right. Headlines brought to you by Cuervo. Now's a good time to enjoy the tequila that invented tequila. Well, you hear me trot out phraseology like maximize the showcase. I'm not sure Carlos Ulberg could have possibly done more with this fight, but I think that this fight, Kenny, could be something that we're talking about for a long time, maybe as the jumping off point, because if you watch the post-fight show and saw Robert Whittaker talk about Ulberg sort of hitting this matrix zone, Kenny, he looked like the best striker in the light heavyweight division. I mean, this was some next level stuff. We've talked about him marveling at those who could feint well, dating back to his first UFC fighter meeting in 2021. And this is the evolved version, 9 straight wins in the UFC, and he looks like the #1 light heavyweight contender.
Yeah, by no means is it a perfect science, but you can tell a lot by someone just by their eyes and their body language when they come out to fight. And boy, did he look dialed in when he came out to fight Reyes. And it looked like it when he went out there and performed. There was, talk about, Pereira's, not wasting movement, not wasting strikes. That's exactly what Ulberg did. He made every single strike count. And what was most impressive is he forced the counter striker to actually be the aggressor. And he did the counter striking against the counter striker, eventually taking him out. And man, every shot was just beautiful precision.
So was that the best 1-2 in UFC history, or is that just my recency bias? I mean, Ken Flo, that was just disgusting, no?
It was clean. It was clean. It was fast. It was as beautiful of a knockout as you're going to see when it comes to a 1-2 punch. And he did it against Dominic Reyes, who is a very good puncher himself. And I thought it was brilliantly executed. Everything start to finish, man. He looked dialed in and ready. And that's exactly what you got to do. If you want to make a case for getting that next title shot, that's how you do it, man.
Right. I mean, not to suggest that he upped Lerone Murphy, but this is just as good, Kenny. This is just as good. And given Reyes's momentum juxtaposed against Pico's UFC debut and thereby lack of octagon momentum, it, I think, elevates this win in a lot of different ways. And I think anybody who heard what you had to say analytically was not at all surprised by this result. He really is a tactician, right? Mm-hmm. If he needs to beat you over 25 minutes, so be it, right? We hear a lot of athletes talk about setting traps or forcing mistakes. And I don't know if it was Amanda Nunes versus Felicia Spencer back in the day, but it's like, yeah, if she makes that grave mistake, we will absolutely fatalize her. But if she doesn't make that mistake, I might beat her 50-40, Yep. And there were people who maybe looked at previous Ulberg wins and, were wondering if he could, consistently get people out of there. I mean, look what he just did to Dominic Reyes.
Exactly. And, there was a lot of pressure on him, obviously fighting in that area of the world where he's from. He's from New Zealand, very close by. And, the fact that it was a main event, all eyes were on him for this one. And, he has been criticized for some of his performances or maybe not being the most exciting guy. And he went out there and did exactly what he needed to do with discipline, with precision, and getting the finish in round 1. That's about as good as it gets.
Speaking of discipline, among the things to come out of Carlos Ulberg's mouth after the fight were, I'm not going to eat, because he is flying to Las Vegas and trying to position himself as the backup for UFC 320 Ankalaev versus Pereira 2. And, that might just be, I mean, certainly it's a way to career traject, right? I mean, it's a way to ascend. It's a way to probably make a couple $100,000. It's a way to show your commitment. Certainly Caio Borralho's circumstances were not this. But I just feel like Carlos Ulberg has made himself undeniable. And if you're Yuri Prochazka and Khalil Roundtree Jr. competing this weekend in a title eliminator at UFC 320, you have to think not about that. But I think based upon where Carlos Ulberg is from and the way that region consistently responds to MMA, maybe the Perth ticket sales in this particular instance notwithstanding, but that factor, coupled with the fact that he does not have history against Ankalaev or Pereira, just puts him in prime position, Kenny, right? I mean, I don't know what your appetite is for, Prochazka against the winner of the title fight this weekend or Roundtree Jr., right? But Carlos Ulberg, Black Jag, man. I mean, I think he's the guy.
He's a stud for sure. And I think that, you talked about it. I think that he has way more chances of getting that next shot if Pereira wins. Now, that also assumes that Pereira goes out there and dominates someone like Ankalaev, finishes him. I think that makes a better case for him not having a trilogy fight. But we don't know what's going to happen with that either. But I think if Pereira wins, then I think that gives Ulberg a very good shot at getting that next one. He also has a good shot if Ankalaev wins, but of course you have Khalil Roundtree and Yuri Prohaska. They could go out there and put on a huge show, or either one of them, and get a finish as well. So things are very interesting in the 205-pound division right now.
I don't think we're getting a trilogy. I think almost no matter what happens that we're not going to see Ankalaev versus Pereira 3. And right now it is interesting. Magomed Ankalaev's about a minus 260 or so betting favorite. Alex Pereira, I would think for some people with a plus 210 next to his name might be particularly juicy, right? I mean, I have no idea, truly. Like, I am not predictive when it comes to MMA. I'll have further insight, I guess, after the fighter meetings later this week. But Carlos fucking Ulberg, man, excuse the language or don't. He is a methodical tactician. I just sort of can glean and extract a lot from previous sit downs with him. And I think for the fan base, you'd probably be most excited to see this guy in a championship setting. We'll see what Khalil Roundtree Jr. can do about that. You know, not unlike Ciryl Gane, I think Yuri Prohaska has been afforded myriad championship opportunities, you know, so we'll see. Congratulations to Carlos Ulberg. Maybe a little bit under-celebrated by yours truly over the weekend, because I just watched the fight this morning and because I was watching football on Sunday and I was sleeping on Saturday, which some of us on the East Coast do after, you know, a certain hour. But my God, man, I saw that 1-2 today, and man, might have been the, Mr. Clean. All right, let us move on to Jimmy the Brute Crute, shall we? I mean, what type of submission was that? I mean, Ivan Arslan, like, I'd tap 2, I guess, if maybe the fade out the other side is a broken neck. But Kenny, that looked like the WWE.
Oh my gosh. This guy, I mean, I love him. He looks like a caveman. He fights like a caveman. That was like a caveman type submission. He just, everything he does, he wants to hurt you. Like, it, you know, he's not about doing things in like a clean, beautiful way. Like, you know, Ulberg, he's out there to crush, to destroy, to mash your face in, whatever it is. And that's exactly what he did here, man. He is fun to watch. And he's just this ball of energy. And I thought it was a really good performance, man. I'm glad he pulled through.
It's almost like, you know, Dana White's like, and Hunter Campbell, like, let's get McMahon, right? Let's get Jimmy Crute out of the cage and throw him on pay-per-view and see what happens, you know?
Throw him some meat. Give him some raw meat. Feed him. Throw him out there. Put him back in the cage. We'll save him for another show.
Yeah. You know what? Go get the Bendigo fucking bomber Jimmy Crute out of the cage tonight and
have a 2-year-old cut his hair real quick. You know, whatever. Yeah, man. It's great. It's great.
Have a toddler cut his hair. He said, you know. So he's one of my probably closest friends on the roster, right? So I don't know how far Jimmy Crute can take it. So he definitely has submissions, right? Credentialed Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, right? In an era in which maybe that doesn't mean as much. His is legitimate. He is a monstrosity to deal with on the ground. Robert Whitaker was talking about a little bit on the post-fight show, just the heaviness. And I do think there was a little panic factor from Ivan Arslan in terms of sort of getting his chin cracked back there a little bit. Crute did put himself in a compromising position, right? And I do think you got to not, you know, sort of dick around or play with your food. Not to suggest he was doing that. I think he just didn't fear anything. It was a quick sweep and reversal, but I don't know. I mean, you know, I knew the result before I watched it. Oh, they're calling it a reverse can opener, by the way. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, it was a neck crank. It was not a choke. So I think that kind of makes sense a little bit. Yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. Well, congrats to Jimmy Crute, and we'll see what they do next with him at 205 pounds. But it's just when you think about where Jimmy Crute was and to now stack wins and submissions and get the $50,000 bonus. And some people might say, all right, you're going to spend 30 seconds on this because he's your buddy. Well, you know, for him and Sam Greco and those guys that have worked really hard, and he started retiring in the octagon. His dad, Gary's always alongside. You know, he started retiring in the octagon. They're like, come on, Jimmy. No, you're not, Jimmy. Come on, Jimmy. You're not doing that right there.
Get back in your cage, Jimmy. We got to bring it back in, bud. Take it easy, bud.
Oh, God. We got to move on. So in the nature of time, I would like to move along to Neil Magny versus Jake Matthews.
Jeez.
And that reaction from Ken Flo is because he had a $500 parlay on Jake Matthews and Carlos Ulberg. All right, Kenny, it's a Bravo choke for Neil Magny. It comes at the 308 mark of round 3, 24th UFC win for Neil Magny, from whom nothing should be taken away. I thought his submission defense was what it was, and the referee got in the way. I don't really even know where to begin. Would you like to talk the masses through it?
I will do my best. I can imagine that Jake Matthews went back home and they asked him, well, what happened? And he's like, I got Neil Magny. That's what happened. I got Magny again. And Neil is so damn tough. And he was losing those first 2 rounds pretty badly and came back to get a win. Now, it was at the end of round 1 where Matthews had him in a compromising position, had him in a guillotine from the mount. And the referee went over, and before the bell rang, before round 1 was over, he touched Matthews and almost pulled him off of him, like stopped the fight, right? Because he thought Neil Magny was out or going to get out, right? So he decided to kind of intervene himself. Some time elapses, and the referee seems to save himself with that poor decision when Magny popped right back up and says, no, the round was over. But clearly he stopped the fight before the round. So that, to me, like, you cannot stop a fight and then say, no, I was just kidding. Actually, I was just stopping because the round was over. Like, that was a mess. Anyways, yeah.
I think it might have been Jimmy Perdios with the Forgettable Night, but there's always a lesson to be learned in this amazing sport of mixed martial arts. And in this one, I think for referees, for commentators who maybe don't know or haven't been in there before, in terms of the jiu-jitsu world and the relative degree of danger for Neil Magny, you let the round expire. If the referee has to know how much time is left, right? It's not as though there was a concussive scenario here. And I don't know, even for me as a white belt, right? When Neil Magny's sticking his arm, he's just, like, this is a, go ahead.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think he was looking at Magny's arm. It looked like either he was going to tap or it was going to go limp. But, like, you kind of have to wait for that thing to play out and be aware that, hey, this has got to be late in the round. Now, Magny would go on to survive that. He would get saved by, the referee's decision to basically overturn himself. And Matthews would go on to have another dominant round 2. And then he came back in round 3 and ended up getting a submission himself, which, I think Matthews was just so exhausted mentally, physically, spiritually from that whole ordeal from round 1 to really trying to take and finish Neil Magny in round 2 that he didn't have much left after round 3, in round 3. And Magny locked in with those long arms, locked in a beautiful Darce choke, and that was it. I mean, that's what makes this sport so damn awesome and so damn frustrating to watch sometimes. There's no logic in fighting sometimes, John. It is absolutely wild. But again, it goes from being a beautiful performance from Jake Matthews to him probably should have got the win, although it was a referee mistake, of course, but to it being one of the best comeback wins that I've seen. And another one from Neil Magny.
So much goes into producing one UFC win, right? Kenny Florian has 12 of them. Can you imagine the adrenaline dump when you are winner by submission and then you got to continue to fight? And even if it didn't necessarily rear its ugly head in round 2, then you get Magnied in round 3. Now, certainly you got to think the Matthews camp is going to try to affect change when it comes to this result. I do believe Neil Magny deserves this win, and it's just really, really difficult, man. It's hard not to feel for Jake, but simultaneously not feel like, you don't want this to become a no contest for Magny, right? Whether he's chasing down Jim Miller or not, right?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. And this guy deserves that win. He showed incredible heart and technique, by the way, to get himself out of a lot of those horrible positions that he was in against Jake Matthews. I mean, he was mounted with a triangle, getting punched in the head, and somehow found a way to survive. And that was just like one out of the several bad situations he was in. So Neil Magny is an absolute stud, man. What a legend.
So honestly, if I was the voting body for the UFC Hall of Fame, I would put Neil Magny in the Hall of Fame, Kenny. Part of the reason I would is because he's fought guys like Michael Morales, and Neil Magny was called out by everyone, right? He's fought every young prospect, essentially most of the legends of his era. And it was always like, oh, that's the guy in the rankings that I want, right? Guy's going to go down as the all-time wins leader in the UFC, right? I mean, Daniel Cormier has strong opinions about Jim Miller's Hall of Fame candidacy. And as far as I'm concerned, what has Jim done that Neil Magny has not done? With all due respect, Kenny, right? Neil Magny's welterweight numbers are absolutely absurd. I took a screenshot of it earlier today. Oh, that one says kindness is always cool. Oh, no, you can't take the screen grab of the Neil Magny screen because I was watching film. But he's surpassed George St. Pierre in any number of different welterweight categories. He goes from being the guy that everybody calls out, right? They have him fight Mike Malott in Canada, right? Some stepping stone or gatekeeper or whatever. Now my advice would be, after Jake Matthews is the latest to get fucking magnied over the weekend, maybe you don't call Neil out, right?
Yeah.
Because the dude just finds a way.
He really does, man. Comeback king.
24 UFC wins for Out Neil Magny. First name Out Neil. Aoutneil. Congratulations to Neil Magny. All right, Kenflo trains on the tracks. How about big train Tom Nolan over Charlie Campbell? Fans were excited. You were excited. I mean, Anik Florian, your mom was excited, and these athletes delivered.
Dude, it was a great fight. These guys went at it, man. Charlie Campbell got off to a great start, hurt Nolan at least once, I think probably twice, I think, maybe dropped him. And Nolan was able to keep it together, utilize his length, land some big strikes himself, take it to the ground, and that's where he was able to ultimately overwhelm Charlie Campbell. But that was a fight that was all over the octagon, back and forth. That was a lot of fun for the fans, I'm sure.
Yeah, Charlie Campbell ready to make that long trek home, just knockout hunting against Tom Nolan. And a tremendous result for Tom. He gets a bonus and just a character-building win. It's interesting to watch some of these guys come into their first fighter meeting. A little wet behind the ears. What does that even mean? That's the first time in my life I've been wet behind the ears. What does that mean?
I don't know. He's a little young, hasn't had a whole lot of UFC fights, so I know what you mean by that. But dude, 6'3", 155 pounds. That's a problem. Dude.
Yeah, sounds like a future welterweight.
Probably.
But yeah, what a stupid. I don't like the words. What terrible wet behind the ears. Oh, from the drying of amniotic fluid of a baby. All right,
they're being born, right? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Cody, how about the UFC records for Neil Magny and Jim Miller? I mean, this guy couldn't wait to turn around this baby after birth stuff. I'm trying to get UFC records for Neil Magny and Jim Miller before I move on, because we have a lot of things that we need to get to. 27-18 with a no contest for Jim Miller. So 46 fights, and he's won 27 of them. So that's a winning percentage of 58%. Neil Magny, 24-12, 24. So Magny, Kenny, that's a significantly higher winning percentage for Neil Magny. No?
Yeah.
I mean, wow. So Magny has 10 fewer appearances and only 3 fewer wins,
That's impressive, dude.
You can put it in your pipe and smoke it, or you can't. But, Jim Miller, right? And, history might look fondly upon DC's comments, right? Because Jim Miller's already been stamped for the Hall of Fame by a lot of people once he became the all-time wins leader. But Magny's trying to fight in 6 weeks. So,
Yep.
All right. Well, there can only be one star of the program. And as I understand it, he's on hold. So let's get to Ray Longo.
It's now time for the Ray Longo Minute.
I want you to punch a hole in his fucking chest. That's what I want.
The Ray Longo Minute. Starring Ray Longo. The John Anik and Kenny Florian podcast.
Look at him. Look at the motherfucker. That front.
Oh, my God.
So I made the adjustment as the host of the show. Ray always comes in hot. As soon as he is shown, he talks. So I laid out this week so that I wouldn't cut you off with my energy and my greeting.
Wow.
Yeah. But now that you got your opening comment out of the way, Ray Longo Minute every week. Anik and Florian podcast dating to 2015. Your hair looks a little interesting today. I don't know if it's a comb. What are we doing?
No, you know what it is? I just tucked my head into a bucket of cold water.
Did you? Are you doing that ice on your face in the morning?
Yeah.
You're on Instagram a lot, aren't you?
No.
Okay. Well, where'd you learn that face ice thing? Who told you to do that?
The think I saw it in a movie.
So,
looked like I was working for the actor. I figured I'd give it a shot.
so what do you think about the extent to which Kenny's hair transplant is working for him?
Let me take a look, Kenny. It looks good from here.
It's getting there. Yeah, it's starting to grow in, man. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
We got to make them a little bigger. I got to see. How do I do that? Hold on. I got something on here.
We did that earlier, so if you want to go,
shit.
See?
All right, there we go.
Getting there. Yeah. Yeah. It's starting to grow now. This is the time where it starts to grow, Ray.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So much to discuss with Ray Longo.
Oh my God. Yeah.
What are we doing single on me for? I mean, I'll take it, but what are we doing there? All right. Ray, I have so many things to discuss with you. I guess I'll lead with Carlos Ulberg. So I called it the cleanest 1-2 in UFC history. I mean, what'd you make of the light heavyweight contender over the weekend?
Yeah, I'll go with a clean 1-2. You know, not much to look at, but I mean, not a lot to look at, but you know, it was over pretty quickly. Look, I thought Reyes was going to win that fight. You know, that 1-2 is the best I've seen Ulberg look. I mean, it looked. That might be what he needs to get the momentum going, because I wasn't really seeing nothing dynamic. You know, it wasn't like you're looking at Izzy. You know what I mean? Like where you go, where this kid's special. But that was a great win for him, and I think it'll serve him well moving forward.
Where do you put Ulberg after this? Would you give him the next title shot? Of course, we have Khalil Roundtree and Yuri Prohaska going at it, but is he in the running now? Is he the front runner?
Yeah, he's definitely in the running. I mean, it goes. Yeah, you got to see what happens with Prohaska and Khalil. You know,
no, you don't.
But yeah, you really don't though. But
Robert Whitaker said that like if Khalil Roundtree Jr. like Showtime kicks him and jumps off the octagon and kicks him in the face,
no, you're right.
Everything's working in Ulberg's favor, you know. But obviously, I think he's more special than you do based upon the last 9 fights. You know.
Well, I think he looked. I started to go okay, and I looked a little better. But wait, hold on a second. Yeah, I mean, I think what Ulberg's got going for him, besides he's, you know, super talented, is that, you know, these guys have all fought everybody before. So I think you have to look at new fights, and I think that's what he's got going for him more than anything. But
he's a good-looking prick too. He's got that going for him.
Yeah. He's definitely got the look for sure. Yeah.
Someone texted me, "Is he still as good-looking as if like he had somehow gotten uglier as he got older?" Like, yeah, he is still just as good-looking. Maybe I'll text Heidi Dean and get the exact, you know, rating right now in the looks department. All right, Ray, we got so much to get into. I don't know if there's anything else from Fight Night that whole Magny Matthews stuff. I'd like to just quickly present some Jake Matthews sound if I could. We laid it out. Kenny and I gave our opinions. We have some sound from Jake Matthews after the fact. I'm going to play that, and then Ray, you can respond to all of it. Go ahead, Coach.
Yeah, I didn't register until we're standing up second round, and the ref's like, "You ready? You ready?" I'm like, "The fuck are we doing?" I was surprised that what I could do in the second round. Either you were going out, or you faked you out, which you're not allowed to do that. You can't play dead, knowing they're going to stop and then be like, "Oh, you can't do that." Well, how many times has the cunt been hit, fallen on his ass, the ref stops it and he's fine, but that's the end of it. That's it. That's it.
All right, well, Jake has every right to be pissed, but there was certainly none 100%. Of that from Magny.
Especially after listening to that, too. I mean, my heart goes out to the guy for sure.
Yeah.
You know, what was that, man? I mean,
well,
that's not happening. That's not happening in Vegas, is it? Where the guy just
yeah, you can't stop a fight and say no, just kidding. I was just like where does the commission come into this? Like,
I think there should have at least been a little something, a little controversy. I mean, the guy stops the fight before the bell. This guy thinks he won the fight, and then they're telling him to come out for the second round. So mentally, that's
oftentimes protests can be fruitless. There's so much that we can do in mixed martial arts, though, to improve the sport, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to sound like an old man, but baseball a few years ago made the bases bigger and invoked a pitch count. And Cody and I can tell you guys, like, it really made the sport exponentially better. There are things we can do to make this sport better. I would like to see a fighter have the ability to, in that situation, maybe, and I'm just talking this out with you guys, take a no contest or be able to say, I'm going to continue to fight under protest, right? Even if that's going to be fruitless, right? Or if you're called a winner by submission due to referee error, I don't know. You got to have some course of action if you're Jake.
Yeah, first off, Jake should have said, I'm not coming out. I
Well,
just
right,
won the
that-
fight.
right,
He
right.
should have held his ground and go, what the fuck you talking about?
Yeah, but then,
and then that would have caused somebody to say, okay, we got to go back and look at it, and they're going to declare him the winner. That period. That's what's going to happen. He's not. What are you talking? I'm not. Why would I go out and fight? I just won the fight. You just called it off. They let that ref off the hook 1,000,000%. I mean, he got it. I mean, I don't even.
You know,
how that
Cody's
guy-
writing, or you piss the brass off, right? See, that's part of the problem too, right? And that's why one of the most thankless jobs in the world is pro MMA fighter, you know, because, you know, unlike if you were like playing on a sports team, right? And then you're like, you know, in this situation, Jake Matthews said, no, I'm not going to fight. And then, you know, Hunter Campbell through the fence is like, you're going to fight.
Oh,
I mean,
well, no, but if Jake Matthews goes, I won the fight. The ref just said I won. What am I doing? What is Hunter Campbell going to say to that?
Yeah, well, I was going to say, how is this any
guy
different
won
than...
the ref called the fight.
Yeah, and
They gotta
I
at
would
least
say...
yeah, sorry, Kenny. Go
No,
ahead.
I'll say, how is this any different than a fight that stopped too early? You know, like Jason Herzog had one a little bit ago where it's like he stopped it and the guy's like, no, I'm totally fine. Why are you stopping this? Well, the fight was over, whether he could have continued or not. So it's like, how is this any different? And that's the problem. And again, and this does not, I don't want to take away from Neil Magny's performance and his amazing comeback win, but the rules are the rules. You stop the fight when the guy's in the submission. You can't then go and say, oh, you know what? No, the round was over. That's why I did it. Well, why did you stop it before the round was over then?
Yeah, the guy fucked up. There's nothing, you know, he could say whatever he wants. But the point being, what's different between that and early stoppage, Kenny, is that the bell rang. So it was confusion. Everybody's going back. It muddied the waters a little bit. If there was 2 minutes left in the round, what would have happened?
Yeah.
What would have happened if there was
close enough? It was close enough, but it was still stopped before the round.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but Kenny, if it was 2 minutes before, that ref doesn't have the luxury of the bell and the confusion.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying? Then the fight's over. I guarantee you the fight's over, because what do you do then?
Right.
I made a
Kenny,
mistake.
you're right. If it's a TKO, the fight's over no matter what. And if Ken Flo's lathered on Cuervo in Vegas, he's taking his $500 two-leg parlay on Ulberg and Matthews to the window, and they're telling him, no, it isn't a winner. And he's like, I just saw him submit the guy on TV. You know, by the way, Ray, Kenny did right. I mean, he's one of hundreds of thousands of bettors, presumably, who are impacted by this. And again, we care much more about the Celtic kid, Jake Matthews, than the bettors out there. But my goodness, man.
Yeah, no, he got mentally fucked, because even in the third round, what the hell was I even looking at? It looked like a guy that just was mentally exhausted from whatever he thought was going on. I mean, he was winning that fight pretty handily, and then and the third round just, I don't know.
So I had a similar experience when I fought Kit Cope on a UFC fight.
That's right.
And I had him in an armbar, and he tapped as like it looked like it was a hair before the bell was over. And his arm was hurt. Herb Dean stopped it and all that stuff. But then we ended up going to a round two. I submitted him again in round two, but it was one of those things where I had to stay focused and be like, all right, forget it. Just move forward. You got another round to go. And it's not always easy to do, man. It's that was tough.
And Kenny, what about Bustamante and Little in that time?
Yes, that's right. You know, he did it twice as well.
But at least that was, I mean, we're talking at least the early days where, you know, maybe you get a little leeway because everybody's growing on the job. This is fucking bullshit. If I'm Jake Matthews, I'm pissed.
Yeah, John, if he, I know what the answer is probably going to be, because none of the appeals really go through. But if there's an appeal that could potentially go through, is this the one, John?
Well, it's a great question, right? And does his sort of nationality play into this, right? The Aussie getting effectively hosed in his home nation. It's a very good question. Can I go back to Kit Cope for a second? Did you think about Kit Cope when we were talking about this earlier and not injected into the conversation.
A little
Is this
bit.
the-
Yeah, a little
right.
bit.
But
Yeah.
see, he's too humble, right? And he's like, oh, can I make this connection? Because I actually beat him fucking twice. Whereas this fight, it was 1-1. They beat each other.
Yeah.
And Kenny
That's
fucking
another
submitted the
thing.
guy
Yeah.
twice. So he has actually 13 or 12 and a half UFC wins, you know.
That's funny. But
Yeah,
I mean,
so-
like, I guess the reality though too is that, I mean, he wasn't going to go out, right? And the bell was going to save him. That's a fact, I think, too. So if the ref just didn't do a fucking thing, but then
Wait,
again,
you're
you don't
saying
have
he was going to go out? No, the bell
He
was going to
wasn't.
save him.
the bell
Right?
would have saved
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
He was nowhere near. I mean, it was like a second or two. But the point is, then it's a normal fight for Jake Matthews in his head. So I don't know if he crumbles in the third round like that. I don't know if you know what I mean. I don't know. It's going to be hard to determine. But
Well, if
yeah,
you're a referee,
what a screw up that was. And
well,
just
if
like
you're a
no.
referee now,
Listen, John, it's the only job I think you have to kill somebody to get fired. There's no, you can't, there's nothing you can do that gets you fired in this fucking job. It's crazy.
Yeah. So I
no
have
other
thought
business
that,
is like that.
I have thought that Perdios has been pretty good, all things considered. But yeah, this is a lesson, I think, to all referees that when it comes to what Kenny and the guys might call like a blood choke at the end of a round, you just let it go. Now, if the guy is about to get Husamar Polyaris and lose a leg and for life, you know, then maybe you intervene. All right.
Yeah.
Right.
I'd like to get to some Conor McGregor news if I could. And the headline, and I could cry with laughter, right? I love Conor, but Conor McGregor is negotiating his place on the White House card with the United States of America, right? I think if we brought Dana White on the Anik Florian podcast, he would be like, yeah, no, he's not, right? But I don't know. So here is Conor McGregor in terms of
who's he talking to? An eagle? A freaking bald eagle? Who's he talking?
Let's hear from Conor McGregor in terms of who he's negotiating with for a potential place on the June 2026 White House card.
Let's go.
Donald agreed to your terms for the White House card.
You know, I'm not negotiating with the UFC on behalf of myself for this fight, like usual. I'm negotiating with the United States of America on behalf of Ireland for this fight. So it's a peculiar one. But Trump and the administration have been fully supportive and backing, and I cannot wait
Should John
to
Jones
put
be on
on
that
a show.
card?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
That's definitely the cocaine speaking, but
I think it's the ultimate power play. It really is.
Listen, that's why I said last week you actually need him for this type of shit because he will bring eyeballs to the fight. That's what he does, and he's funny. That to me is funny.
So, Kenny, if you're Conor McGregor, right, and say what you want about 100 million to show or 200 million to show, right? Even as the voice of the UFC or whatever, right? Like, I don't know about ratings. I don't know if Kimbo Slice, may he rest in peace, on CBS or a UFC show on ABC did the greatest rating for a national TV, or if it was Kane and JDS on Fox. I truly have no idea. But if the internal goal from the UFC is to produce the biggest national TV rating of all time, Conor McGregor is the guy to do that. And then in terms of the residual value potentially of a Conor McGregor fight, all the build up, bringing more eyeballs to the UFC after the fact. I mean, that is the grounds upon which, Kenny, you negotiate if you're Conor McGregor. The residual impact of me being on this card is such that I am worth $175 million.
He's got the numbers to back it up that he is the biggest UFC star of all time. All right. Is he still, can he still bring in those amount of eyeballs? I think he probably still can over anybody else right now. I don't know if it's going to be the same when he was in his absolute prime, but I still think he would, catch the intrigue of a lot of fans out there who are either Conor haters or Conor fans to want to tune in and watch him fight. Again, I think the dance partner would be very important in that equation, but Conor's still a big star, man. And, again, he's got the gift of gab, man. Everything he says, it's hilarious. And I'm sure he would build that up. How serious is he? I don't know. Is he going to get that? Is he throwing out the $100 million number so he can get 50 million? I don't know. But
I think
I
it
guess
moved
we're
to
gonna find out.
200 million. I think
Did
maybe
it move
he
to
moved
200?
200
Oh my
million.
gosh!
Yeah,
All right,
yeah,
he's going up.
Yeah, I think he enjoys what he's doing, and it is funny, and he's always on. He's never off, that guy. You never
No.
see him off.
Yeah.
And I don't know, for some reason I find him funny now, funnier than ever
Oh.
before. But
Do you consider me, Ray, someone who's always on?
I'll tell you when you're in the booth, 100%.
Well, no. I mean, sometimes on this podcast, I feel like you think I'm a lunatic, if not coked up.
No, I'm just for your job. I think you're always on. Sometimes I could see that you're maybe a little mellower than normal.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
right now, not that you're off, but this
Yeah.
guy's you're never seeing him in that moment where he's sleeping.
He's high
and
energy. He's
high
high
energy all
energy
the
all the
time.
time.
All the
Yeah.
time. No,
You're
and
close.
I just-
So John,
I
you're
love-
close. Yeah.
I love hearing him orate, like when I
Yeah.
was going to read this quote and then our fine producer, Cody Merrill, went and grabbed it, but it's almost just as funny if I read it. I'm not negotiating with the UFC on behalf of myself for this fight. I'm negotiating with the United States of America on behalf of Ireland for this fight. So it's a peculiar one.
Yeah.
But Trump and the administration have been fully supportive and backing. And I cannot wait to put on a show.
Yeah,
It's brilliant.
The administration have been perfect, is priceless.
Dude.
There's a good chance he hasn't talked to anybody. You know
Right.
what I
But
mean?
how
So,
cutting is it? Right.
yeah.
Like, so it's a peculiar one,
Right.
Yeah. So it's a peculiar. Yeah, no,
It's out of my hands. It's out of
Yeah.
my hands.
Dana
It's
probably
between-
like, nothing
It's between the
fucking
U.S. and Ireland
Yeah,
if they want
yeah.
to make it out.
Dana's like, nothing fucking peculiar about it, probably.
Yeah,
but,
yeah. Trump definitely isn't talking to him without talking to Dana, or if
Right,
he would
right.
even allow that's not happening.
All right.
They're too
So
close.
I want to get into Dvalishvili v. Sandhagen if I could. And I know we talked about this last week, and we've got another title fight that I'd like to get your thoughts on, Ray. Ankalaev about a -260 betting favorite against Alex Pereira right now. So if you wouldn't mind just giving us your thoughts on those two fights at UFC 320, and I'm just going to just sit here in all of my fat self and ingest your brilliance.
Oh, no. Wait, first of all, I got 5 minutes to go, so let me cram everything.
Oh, you have
Merab-
5 minutes to go. Okay,
Yeah,
I did. Okay,
because I
go
do got
ahead.
to get
Shoot.
out of here.
Go. Sorry.
No, it's all good. No, Merab, I think, is going to do what Merab always does. It looks like he's just again, he's just getting so confident, and even working with DJ, and he's having fun, and he loves to fight, and that's a bad problem for everybody. You know what I mean? Guys, I could pick guys out on that last card that they're just fighting for some other reason. This guy loves to fight, and the fact that he gets to work with other people that I know he respects, I think just it's again, it's not a guy that isn't doing well and he goes to train with somebody. He goes, oh, I'm training with so and so now. But he's having a blast, and he's picking people's brains, and he's getting better and better. I heard he's working like an animal. When I talk to Pumi and stuff and Aljo, I think Pumi told me at one point they were testing him every week at his house. So
Wow.
People can't figure out what's going on, but the guy's always on. He's always working. What Conor is with his gift of gab, Merab is with his training. He's never off. He's always on. He gets off the plane, even if he comes to New York, he's in the gym. He goes to wherever, Australia, he's going for a run. He's never stopping. And again, that's a bad combination. He's physically fit. He's mentally wants to be there. I think he's got everything in the right perspective about his life and fighting. It's almost like he can't lose. Even if he loses, he's not losing. He's winning.
Ray,
Ray,
before you go, where would you put Sandhagen as far as him being one of the more challenging matchups? Is he at the top? Is he number 2? Is he number 3? Who's a more difficult fight you think that Merab's had?
I think. Look, I think the guy most similar to Sandhagen would be like an O'Malley, and he's got 2 wins over him, which I think is going to help. But he's always switching stances. Look, I always told you this. I loved Cory from the beginning. I thought he was definitely going to be a champion someday. So he's had his, sometimes he just maybe overthinks things or something happens. So I think this is his one opportunity. He's coming in about as well prepared as he's ever been for a fight. And I think he's not that he's dangerous, but he's dangerous to deal with because of the shift, the stance switching, and he's rangy. Like, the other guy, O'Malley, he's coming forward. He's not as, with the footwork isn't like Sandhagen's, so it might be harder to engage with him. So we'll see what happens. But I put him up whatever. Look, at that point, Kenny, everybody in that division is good, and they all bring something that's for the reason they're there, right? You know what I mean? And Sandhagen, what scares me about him is he's had losses and he's come back. You know what I mean? He's been there, so he's not. He got that monkey off his back when he was undefeated. Sometimes you always, you go out to protect that. I don't want to take a risk, but he's got nothing to lose. That's what makes him dangerous. He's got absolutely nothing to lose.
If Merab Dvalishvili in 2025 beats Umar Nurmagomedov, Sean O'Malley, Cory Sandhagen, and then closes out the year against Petr Yan as he desires, and I know he's only halfway through that, right?
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, it's the greatest calendar year by an MMA fighter of all time. I mean, I'm always partial to the Vitor Belfort era in 2013, right? You want to talk about, testing a guy every week, huh? So, Ray, real quick. Ankalaev v. Pereira, the rematches this weekend. Who do you love?
Oof. Man, I'd like to see Pereira pull it off. He's got to do something. He's got to get on the gas pedal right away. I don't think he could lay back with this guy.
Yeah.
But if he opens up, it could put him in a couple of different positions. But I think it would be a great story if Pereira won. So,
yeah, that would be something. Can you imagine?
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely got the power to do it. But he's just he's got to figure out a way to get there and still not expose himself to, to takedowns and stuff. But he looks like he's training good. So I'm excited for that fight too. It's going to be a great night.
All right, well, I can't wait to see you in Las Vegas. Hopefully, I will cross your wake at some point in time. Enjoy the wedding thereafter. What's the drink of choice at the wedding? Alcohol is out these days. I mean, I still have a couple, but what's the drink of choice for Raymond at the wedding? Maybe a little Tito's and soda or what?
Ateba.
You got to go with the Funkaba.
Oh, it's probably I mean, if I were Aljo, it's the only thing
he's got to have that. He's got to have that at every table. No.
Yeah.
That's actually a great thought. Yeah, maybe a little rum and Coke.
A little rum and Coke. We go back to the 80s. That's what I used to drink a lot, rum and Coke. Wait, you said alcohol's out?
No, I mean, I just sort of joking around. Everything in moderation, I think, is the thesis statement. But no, I mean, it's like, oh, you can't drink anymore.
Yeah, I don't drink anymore at all. So I'm agreeing with you. That's what
I'm saying. Yeah,
I don't know
quitting.
If it was just me, I don't know. But
that's I mean, I forget which rapper said, I can't stop smoking. I think it was Onyx. I can't stop smoking weed because I ain't no quitter. It's like I'm not a quitter. I'm not a quitter.
That's pretty funny.
All right, Ray. Oh, yeah, I guess, Ray's got to go. So we have some crazy Wanderlei Silva footage, but we're going to do it on the other side after you leave. So have a great day, a better evening. Best of luck. I'll see you at UFC 320.
I'll give you a buzz. Take
care, Ray.
Much love.
Take care, Kenny.
And no, on my way back from the lovely memorial for Thomas Gervasi, I did not stop and see Ray. Never intended to, incidentally. So if I'm Ronda Rousey, I'm texting Conor McGregor, and I'm like, hey, that's amazing, asking for 100, but you should ask for 200. And then he's like, oh, 200 million. You know what I mean? Like, Ronda's like, what am I worth if this dude's asking for $100 million? But when I sort of try to quantify what Conor McGregor's value is on CBS to the UFC on that night, no, in the lead up to that fight, on that night, and then residually after the fact, right? What is his value, right? I think all of us in life try to determine what we think our value is in a world in which we're all replaceable. But, he's worth a lot of money.
He definitely is. He definitely is. There's no question about that.
Yeah. All right. Wanderlei Silva was violently concussed as part of a boxing brawl after a DQ in his match. And we are going to bring you that footage right now. Not really a viewer discretion advised situation, but pretty scary to see Wanderlei at this age take this type of. So this is the fight footage. That's the DQ. Wanderlei DQ'd for a fairly blatant headbutt. And then this is the ensuing brawl, Ken Flo.
Crazy. Yeah, so Wanderlei Silva was fighting a Brazilian boxing legend, I believe, Acelino Popó Freitas.
Yes.
And Freitas' son got involved, and he was the one who knocked out Wanderlei Silva cold, obviously with no gloves. So, and clearly Wanderlei Silva is throwing a headbutt there. I mean, that was, and apparently not the first time he did that during the fight. You could see him kind of throwing his head.
Oh,
I mean, that's about as blatant as it gets. So, not saying he deserved, not saying he deserved to get clipped bare knuckle by Freitas' son. However, you know, not a good look all the way around, man.
Yeah.
And Verdum was in there, huh? Getting involved, trying to get after.
Vai Cavallo.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Cody, for chasing that. Thanks to Happy Punch on Instagram for that footage. So, man.
Pandemonium
out there. Combat sports. All right, last item before we spin it forward, Ken Flo. Zuffa Boxing has a deal on Paramount Plus, 12 live events in 2026. And I guess the takeaway for me, and I meant to ask Longo about this, I didn't know about his time constraints today. You know, I honestly feel like I'm asking for like his fucking pinky nail when I move the time of the show or the time of his segment from 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. You know, I guess this message is for Ray and Cody and to a much lesser extent, Jason Anik. Like, if you guys don't want to move off of that slot, right, or it's like an issue conflictively, just let me know.
Right.
You know, don't give me attitude. And then if he can only be here for 20 minutes, you know, you can let me know that too. You know, I'm running the show. If he's only got 20 minutes, you know, I hate when I'm doing an interview and they go past the time allotted, you know, and I'm like, guys, I hate to do it, but like you said, 15, we're 27 in. I'm gone.
You gotta go.
You know? Yeah. So, but my biggest takeaway, and I meant to ask Ray about this, is that, you know, I'm sure Ray's got some young boxers, you know what I mean? And like, there are a lot of potential opportunities. Brandon Adams, who's not a young boxer, but got a win at that Zuffa boxing show. He got a $100,000 bonus at the Canelo Crawford show. And I just think for some young fighters and veteran fighters getting in with this promotion, I think could financially and otherwise really change lives.
I think it's brilliant for a lot of different reasons because, you know, the UFC it's a machine. It is a large, very powerful entity at this stage of the game. And for them, obviously they want as much market share as possible. And it solves the issue with all these MMA fighters who want to get big paydays in boxing. It's like, well, we have an entity for that as well. We can actually make those things happen now.
Yeah.
How much, you know, how willing Dana is to do those kind of things, I don't know, but he can certainly do it now, which is very interesting.
Oh, you're the best boxer in the UFC? Well, maybe you want to go prove it under the Zuffa boxing ban.
Exactly.
All right, big things. UFC 320 Ankalaev versus Pereira 2. Pronunciation of the week is brought to you by Total Wireless, the official wireless provider of UFC. Get unlimited data that won't slow you down. All right, this week we feature one of the best middleweights outside the top 10 right now. He competes at UFC 320 this weekend, Cameroonian phenom, part of the featured prelim. He is a minus 1,000 betting favorite against Ozzy Diaz, trains under the great Carl Prince, Manchester top team in England. Ken Flo, of whom am I speaking?
Is it Ateba Gautier?
Yeah, circle gets the square, right?
Okay,
I mean,
there
your syllabic emphasis is perfect. I had a hard time with this first name, so I do still go with phonetics on my fighter card. But Cody, you can trigger that file at any time.
Gautier Ateba Abega. Gautier Ateba Abega.
Bang.
So yeah, I mean, he sort of emphasizes the last syllable in his first name, like Ateba.
Yeah, right.
So that's a little tricky because it's so common to want to just go Ateba, you know, Ateba, go, but it's like Ateba. So it's a little tricky, you know.
Dude's a beast, by the way.
That's why we're playing the file. And that's why later today, in actually 5 minutes, we're going to pick his fight against Ozzy Diaz just to give you and Brian Petrie a chance to talk about Ateba Gautier because he is simply that good. Well, as most of you well know, in the octagon, it only takes 1 second to change everything. One punch, one choke, as we saw this past weekend. One shock no one saw coming, including Jake Matthews. Well, at UFC 320, DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of UFC, puts you right in the middle of the action. Ankalaev beat Pereira 2, headlines a loaded night of action from Vegas. Now, as of this moment, the favorites in the big fights are the champions, Magomed Ankalaev minus 250 or so against Poatan, who is north of plus 200 as of this taping. And Merab Dvalishvili, the near 4-1 favorite against Cory Sandhagen. Lines and odds subject to change, but as always, a lot of different ways to play. No sportsbook has more options. Those are my words. I can assure you of that. And new customers, this one's for you. Bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get paid out $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use code AFPOD. That's code AFPOD to turn $5 into $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. Fees may apply in Illinois. 21 plus. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bet must win to receive reward. Minimum minus 500 odds required. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. All right, so I got a lot to talk about if we don't have Brian Petrie a few minutes early. Usually my guy Big Gun is in here. But if we don't have Brian, I have plenty of other items to get to as we wipe out of our amazing spot. And of course, he's there. Bro, your Cincinnati Reds shirt is jogging my memory. And by the way, the host of the MMA Takes podcast, chief handicapper for the Anik Florian podcast, Big Gun, Brian Petrie. I know it's family first, buddy, and we appreciate you being here after an unforeseen week away. It's nice to see your shining face.
It is. I apologize to you guys in the audience for not being here. I got a lot of great messages. Thank you for missing my absence, but the show must go on, and unfortunately, I had to take care of some things with my grandma, but she's doing fine, and you are doing great. Glad to help out. And also, Curtis Hoagland, he stepped in. He did great, so that's cool to get him a little bit of extra shine there, but I'm back, baby, and I got these pigs, Johnny.
Well, and we're excited to get to it. So the question actually that I'm going to pose to you guys later, and this will just give you time to marinate on it, a little butter bath with fucking rosemary, if you would.
Nice.
Curtis Hoagland made $833 in your absence, right? So he did go 2-0. His heavyweight bet was no action. So then he did a 2-leg parlay that came in. And it almost feels like we tab a guy to fill in for you. It should count towards your total, but that's neither here nor there. Okay. I see your Reds jersey. The Cincinnati Reds made the playoffs. What is your relative level of enthusiasm about that?
So I've fully admitted I am a fair weather baseball fan. When the Reds are doing well, I'm a fan. When they're doing bad, you know, it's not like my Bengals. Like my Bengal will never waver. But with the Reds, I do waver a little bit. However, I've been tuned in. My stepfather, who I've been spending a lot of time with, he has been absolutely dialed in, staying up way past his 8 o'clock bedtime to watch these final few games. And he did that, so I've been watching with them. And then, they sealed it. I mean, we lost, but then the Mets lost, so we snuck in. Now we go out to L.A., see those Dodger boys for 3 games. So we'll see what we can do.
So you just called yourself fair weather and then proceeded to refer to the Cincinnati Reds as we 3 times.
I do that for everything.
All right. No, that's fine.
I'll do it for UC football, which I'm not really a fan of, but I was as a kid. I'll say we, the Bearcat. You know what I mean? It's a we thing. I get shit for it all the time. Yeah. Sorry.
No, don't say sorry. I mean, can you imagine being my twin brother, right? Like, just give him shit about every little thing out of his mouth. You know?
But no, this has been a conversation with like guys at work. They're like, you're not on the fucking team. It's not we. I said, as much as this is about the Bengals, as much as I get worked up and care about them, I feel like I should say we. So, but it's a big contentious thing with my buddies.
No, we had to break my mom of the habit of saying, we need to stop. And it's like, no, Mom, like they do. Yeah. It's they. The Patriots need to stop. You don't need to fucking stop, I mean, maybe if you're betting on the game, right, it would actually.
Yeah, right, that's true.
But, but anyway, but me, Kenny, and Cody are not fair weather Boston Red Sox fans, and we're very excited about this 3-game series with the New York Yankees that beckons on Tuesday. But enough about that, because UFC 320 is Cannonball coming Saturday night. We are going to pick one early prelim because I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on it. I do not know how to pronounce Patchy Mix's opponent's name.
Okay.
I told the UFC with Polish names, I'm not even going to attempt this until I get the file. Patchy Mix in his second UFC appearance, -278. Jacob Wicklats is +225. So I got a text from somebody that is embedded with Patchy Mix. And he wrote, he's got a fire in his belly and he is pissed. So the UFC debut largely couldn't have gone much worse, although perhaps Aaron Pico would argue otherwise. But the mixed debut, Bri, came against Mario Bautista, UFC 316 back in June. And now he faces this highly touted newcomer out of Poland, a spot in which he needs a win. How do you handicap the bantamweights, my man?
I'm glad you got the inside that because I felt like this matchmaking, I feel like if you're Patchy Mix or his manager, this is one you might pass on, right? Former champion coming in fighting a ranked guy in Batista, and you're getting this unknown guy, champion from Poland. The reason he took this fight is because he's pissed. That was my assumption. He don't give a fuck who it is. He wants to put someone in there because he gave a flat performance. I felt like his stand-up, his head movement, he was too straight up. It was weird. And the best attribute for Patchy Mix is his grappling, his scrambling ability, his chokes. Those are really fun. We didn't really get to see that. We saw him stand up for 3 rounds and get kind of his head knocked off. Showed a good chin, but he didn't really show any kind of, evolving as the fight went on. He kept doing the same thing, kept doing the same problems, having the same problems. The Polish guy who I did some tape study over the weekend when I was on my little plane trip, I was watching some fights on him. And he's very scrappy, but he's very hittable. He's been finished twice. Yeah. He's 3 losses. He's been TKO'd. He's been hit to the body. He gets cut up, but he's one of those guys. It's like a Brian Ortega. He finds a choke. He is good on the ground. He goes for it. Cardio been proven. But I don't think that matters here. I think this guy belongs in the UFC, but I think Patchy Mix is going to get it done. I'm a Patchy Mix guy. I'm a believer. I like Patchy Mix in the spot. I like him by finish as well. I like that he's fired up now. Now I'm going to fire up some money towards him in the DraftKings bank account because I like that. I think he matches up well with this guy. I think even though his striking is not the most technical in the world, I do think there's some pop there, and I think he's a natural-born finisher. So I think it could be a club and sub type situation. Something's going to happen here. I like Patchy Mix. I like him by finish too, babe.
Nicely done, Bri. Yeah, Kenny, there's really no passing on fights. I think for Patchy Mix, it was more about getting that taste out of his mouth and getting back in there as soon as possible, almost against anyone. I do think maybe there could have been easier matchups if for some reason you were trying to, soften the sort of entry for Patchy Mix in his first few UFC fights. But he is fighting a former KSW bantamweight champion, Kenny. That's as big as really any belt outside the UFC. He's a BJJ black belt, Kenny. I know because we prepped the same way for this, that about his connection with Joanna Jędrzejczyk and how he's trained with her for years. What a massive spot for this kid for his UFC debut against a ready-to-eat Patchy Mix. What do you have for us on the 35ers?
Yeah, and I think Joanna is representing him as well, managing him, I think, as well.
That is accurate.
That's pretty cool. So, anyways, yeah, this guy loves to fight, loves to scrap. I think he is very similar to Patchy Mix in that, while he can strike, grappling is his specialty. So I think we should have a treat if this fight hits the ground. I think it will. And it's interesting because I think Patchy is probably the better wrestler. And maybe Wicklats is a little bit more versatile when it comes to the submission game. I think that Patchy has awesome chokes, like Brian was talking about. But Jacob is very versatile. He's won by a variety of submissions. He has 10 submissions. He's on a 7-fight unbeaten streak right now, which is very impressive. And as you mentioned, that KSW event in Poland is massive, the biggest in Europe. It's a really big deal. They do a great job putting on the event, and he's fought a lot of tough competition. So while I do think that Patchy Mix is the more experienced and better fighter overall, I think if you're going to fight Patchy Mix, now is the time to do it. And I like the dog here. I might like a lot of dogs here. I'm going to go with Jacob Wicklats. I just think now's the time to do it. And this kid's he's a goer, man. He's a goer.
All right, nicely done. Next up, middleweight division, the aforementioned Ateba Gautier -1,000, Ozzy Diaz +650, Bri. Gautier was born April 10th, 2002. He is 23 years old, couple of first-round knockouts to begin his UFC career. The odds makers have certainly taken notice, BP, -1,000 this weekend.
Oh, that's how it's going to be, Kenny. We're going to take some dogs. We're going to take some dogs here. That's what he said, huh? Well, how about this? How about I take? No, I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm not going to take Ozzy Diaz. No respect, Ozzy Diaz. He's tough as they come, right? He does some scrappiness to him. He's got some good wins outside the UFC, but he's been crippled before. But he's been knocked out. That chin has been touched, and he's been put down. You're going to Gautier. This guy is a freak. Not only is he a freak athletically, physically, but he's also just with a right camp that's getting him better and better and better. This number's huge. I anticipated it. It's not available on DraftKings right now. You can take Gautier by knockout. That's probably going to yield you minus 250. Vegas is smart. I'm taking him round 1 knockout, which we're going to knock that 10,000 down to probably minus 135 if we get lucky. Round 1 knockout Gautier. I just think this kid is a problem, and I just don't think Ozzy Diaz is the guy to solve it right now.
LA's Diaz 1-1 after a decision win over Jordan Santos at UFC 313 back in March. Ken Flo, all eyes on Ateba Gautier this weekend.
Listen, I thought Diaz looked great against Santos. I think he looked much improved. I like the fact that he's in the 185-pound division. He's going to be big in that division. The problem, he's going against a guy who's even bigger in Gautier. And, you know, I wanted to take Diaz. I love the story. I love how he came back looking a lot better. And then I saw, you know, the Dana White Contender Series fight. And I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe not. And then I looked at another UFC fight, and I was like, can't really do that, can I? Yeah. And then I saw, you know, his last fight. I'm like, absolutely not. The guy's a minus 1,000 favorite for a reason. Yeah, I expect him to probably get another knockout. And I think that would make it 8 fights in a row with a knockout for Gautier. It's insane.
Well, and if you know his backstory.
Yeah, he's had
all his brothers are home in Cameroon taking care of his mom, right? Wow. And don't cross them, right? Yeah. Like I wouldn't cross them. Can you imagine this dude? But forged by life experience for these Cameroonians, Ken Flo, you know, Christian Mbili, the boxer, and Francis Ngannou, right? Didn't even begin to describe it. You know? Yeah,
they asked him. I think someone asked him, "How many street fights have you had?" And he's like, probably started around 9 years old. He's like, I can't even count. You say he can't even count.
Yeah, a lot of bodies on the ground, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Trying to take care of mom and protect themselves. All right. Gosh. Now we get to the main card. Only 3 times in the next 7 years will I get the chance to say live on pay-per-view in this context. So we get to the main card. Live on pay-per-view. Huge fight at middleweight to kick things off. Joe Pyfer, minus 238, nicknamed Body Bags, taking on Abus Magomedov, who comes back plus 195. So Magomedov, I mean, my goodness, he looks good with his shirt off, bro. I really has benefited from the American Top Team alignment. He's won 3 in a row. Last win against Michel Pereira back in April in Kansas City. 35 years of age. Sure. Now kind of has to be the time. Great opportunity against a guy who's got a lot of eyeballs on him, and Joe Pyfer.
So this is a tough one for me. I'm going to have to craft something up for this one here, boys, because these lines stink for this. I think this line is a stinky rat cheese line here. I think Magomedov is getting undervalued here. I think the guy has a ton of experience outside the UFC. Sure, he came to the UFC, maybe not exactly ready yet, maybe mentally or physically, because he would gas. Now he's putting it together. He's a long-range striker with a ground game. Then you got Joe Pyfer, who can put you out with anything, right? Round 1, round 2 seconds in, doesn't matter. But, you know, he fades when the fight goes on. Like the Kelvin Gastelum fight. He had Kelvin hurt, beat up. I thought he lost that 3rd round, or at least Kelvin rallied. And the same thing with Hermanson. Yeah, he went 5 rounds with Hermanson, didn't give up. But it was just the accumulation of everything. He's a guy that wants to finish early. Abus Magomedov has been finished early in the past. So you look at this and you're like, what are we going to do here? So here's what I'm crafting. My pick is Joe Pyfer, right? But I'm going round 1, Joe Pyfer KO, right? The minute round 1 doesn't happen for you, you run to the Abus Hills, you run to the Magomedov Hills, you bet him live. Hopefully he loses the first round so you get him a better plus money. But yeah, I think he wins if it goes outside the first. In the first, I think Joe Pyfer takes him another skull. I'm going to lean Joe Pyfer round 1 knockout for right now. I'll play that. I'll bet that. Line's not available yet, but hopefully we'll get at least a pretty good plus number out of that.
Ken Flo, Joe Pyfer 5-1 in the UFC. Lone setback, the main event against Jack Hermanson. He's responded well to that with a couple of wins in a row. How do you handicap this one at 185 pounds, my man?
Yeah, BP, I've been going back and forth on this Pyfer Magomedov fight, you know, because I do think the odds are kind of juicy. I wanted to take the Magomedov pick, but it's tough for me. I think that he is definitely looking more comfortable in the octagon at this point, but so is Pyfer. And I think both of them have kind of had their struggles with understanding pacing, and maybe it's a conditioning issue. Both have been working on it. And I think Pyfer is fighting Magomedov at the right time as far as his experience and the things that he's experienced so far inside the octagon. I do think he's the more powerful striker. I think that is pretty clear. How well he's able to stop the takedowns and conserve his energy throughout that fight is going to be the question. But I'm going to go with Pyfer here. I think he will be able to, because of his athleticism, stop those takedowns from Magomedov. But I think that's where Magomedov, if he's able to put it all together, a full mixed martial arts package out there, I think Magomedov can win. But give me Joe Pyfer.
Guys are bringing the bullets on a Monday. We move on to the featherweight division. Yusuf Zalal, man. Kid looks like a world beater, right? He's ripped off 4 wins in a row in the second UFC stint. And as such, maybe baked into the number here, boys. I got to just chill out sometimes, you know. Minus 440 against Josh Emmett, who comes back at plus 340. So any time for a guy like me who's so close to it, when I see like Josh Emmett plus 340, I know the recent results haven't been great. I know he's a man, he's 40, but it's just like, it's a crazy number to me. Zalal has fought good competition, Bri, and he is finishing guys, right? Just turned 29 earlier this month. Now he draws the former interim world title challenger, Josh Emmett. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I had the same problem, John. When I saw Josh Emmett plus 340, I immediately was circled him. Yep, I'm going with him. Do some research. Maybe I could get on the Emmett side. But when I really break down what I think these guys have, I think Emmett still has power, but I think he has slowed a bit from the Lerone Murphy fight. That was the Josh Emmett that tried to wrestle a lot. You know, that wasn't the guy he was still slinging leather, but, you know, Lerone was just out pointing him and out maneuvering him and had better footwork and had better just everything. And I think Yusuf Zalal has really good footwork. When he was outside the UFC, this guy had like highlight reel knockouts. He is explosive. But like when he's in the UFC, we see a little bit of those. I think we need to see a lot more. I don't know if he's playing it safe or what, but obviously he has a lot of finishes. He's worked on his ground game. His ground game's nasty. I don't think he's going to be able to get a guy like Josh Emmett down. I think this is going to be a play on the feet. I think this is going to be Josh Emmett's speed and power versus Yusuf Zalal's slickness, because I do think he's slick. I think he utilizes his feet very, very well. I flip back and forth on this. I'm a number guy. I play numbers more than fighters. I like both these guys. Ultimately, I'm going to go Zalal. It makes me throw up in my mouth a little bit, but I'm going to take him at minus 440. I don't know how I'm going to play that. That is a bet. I usually bet all main card fights. Maybe him by decisions where I'll get, but right now I'm going to take Zalal. I just, for whatever reason, I can't get on the Emmett side because of the Murphy performance, but he does look to be in phenomenal shape. I've been obviously following him on social media. He looks to be 40 or not. The guy's fucking shreddy. So give me Zalal, though. Give me Zalal. Unregrettably, I'll take Zalal.
Yeah, working at the garage with TJ Dillashaw, Josh Emmett is always in shape, but perhaps taking it to the next level. Real quick, Ken Flo, you know, when I say he's a man, he's 40, right, on UFC Tales of the Tape, it's a nod to Oklahoma State football coach Mike Gundy, who actually just got fired.
Brutal.
So he uttered those words on a microphone when he was 40, and he's 58 now. So shout out to Mike Gundy. So Emmett Kenflo's lost 3 of 4. Last one against Lerone Murphy in April. His last win nearly 2 years ago when he death touched Thug Nasty Bryce Mitchell. What are your thoughts on this one at featherweight? Pretty interesting fight.
Yeah, you know, Emmett has fought a lot of tough guys. I think guys that are, you know, on paper tougher than Zalal, but Zalal right now, you know, he's cruising. He's got a lot of momentum. I think the big problem for Emmett in this one is going to be the footwork of Zalal. Emmett's going to have to cut off the cage extremely well, and he's not always so great at doing that. Now, if Zalal stays in front of Emmett, you better watch out, because Emmett has the capability of knocking anybody out, probably all the way up to 170. He has that kind of power. But Zalal is smart. He's slick. He knows how to mix things up. I don't know how much of a threat he's going to be with his takedowns and ground game. If he's able to take Emmett down, then yeah, I think Zalal has a good shot at the very least of maybe TKOing him or submitting him. But I think Emmett's wrestling I think his wrestling defense is going to be able to hold up. I do. So I do think it will be on the feet for the majority of this fight. And I think the easy pick is Yusuf Zalal. However, when I see a plus 340 for Josh Emmett, nah, dog, don't disrespect my dog like that. I'm gonna take Josh Emmett. I think he's got a shot at clipping the chin of Yusuf Zalal and pulling off an upset, and that would mean some more ducats for me.
Yeah. Respect.
It really is interesting. I'm not sure the knockout proposition on Josh Emmett is going to be much juicier than the plus 340, but sometimes the issue isn't the training camp or the age, it's just the opponent, whether it's Yusuf Zalal or Ateba. Gautier, huge favorites this weekend. All right, now we move along to a featured bout between top flight light heavyweights. Yuri Prochazka minus 175, Khalil Roundtree Jr. plus 145. Bry, obviously, Carlos Ulberg couldn't have done more with his showcase, right? Yeah. So now we arrive at this fight. What a matchup. I mean, just chaotic, seemingly. Prochazka, the former undisputed champ, stopped Jamal Hill at UFC 311 earlier this year. Roundtree Jr., with a win over Jamal Hill as well back in April, is now the man who shows up in his bracket. Lead us off, Bry, on the 205ers, if you would.
Hey, y'all like violence? Because this is what it's going to be. It's going to be some violence. I love this fight. I love they put these together. This is great matchmaking. Yuri Prochazka looked great against Jamal Hill, right? And that was a really coming back. This is a guy who's just absolutely crazy. By the way, awesome Instagram photos. I don't know how he gets these shots with him like in a waterfall. It's incredible though. But the guy's a very interesting guy, and he knows how to put it together. And what I like most about him is after every performance, he's never happy. I can do better. I got hit too many times. I love that mentality of a guy, former champion, that wants to get better always. Then you got Khalil Roundtree, I think has gotten so much better because of the mental. He's so confident in himself. This guy always threw with bad intentions, but maybe the cardio held him back. Maybe a little bit of a chin issue or whatever. Chin issue's gone because he stood for 4 rounds with Poatan and got hit, but never got put out. It was more of an accumulation with cuts and everything that got stopped. He also rocked Poatan a couple times in that fight and looked fantastic. Then you get running back with Jamal Hill when he made Jamal Hill look amateurish. He had Jamal Hill crossing his legs. He was throwing kicks from either side, switching stances. His southpaw's nasty. Like Khalil Roundtree, he's defensively minded as well, which I love. I love the prime version of Khalil Roundtree, and I love this fight. If it was reversed, if Yuri was the plus money, I would go Yuri. This is a pure number play. I like Roundtree by the plus money here. I think it's tremendous value. I think Yuri's biggest issue is he is hittable, and he does get hurt in quite a bit of fights. He has such a good way of rebounding and recovering from these, but he does get clipped a lot. And I think if you get clipped by Khalil one too many times, he's going to put you out and he's going to finish you the fight.
Yeah.
I like Khalil Roundtree here. I like him big. I don't think he'll leap, even no matter what performance, I don't think he'll leap Ulberg because he's been there before. But this is going to put him right under Ulberg, in my opinion. But yeah, give me Khalil for the dog money.
And I was listening, Bri, but you saw as well what Cody put in the private chat about Yuri Prochazka getting his master's degree at Masaryk University. Kenny, his thesis on blood analysis before and after high altitude training. So, dude is mentally locked in. So, Roundtree Jr.'s win over Jamal Hill, by the way, was a 25-minute decision win. It was June 21 in Azerbaijan, not in April. But 6 wins in his last 7 for Roundtree Jr. The only loss in there, of course, in Utah against Poatan. Kemflo will take a prediction on the light heavies.
Such an interesting fight, and I'll be surprised if this one goes the distance. If it does, it's going to be a dandy. I think that Prochazka is very susceptible to getting hit, as BP said, and you don't want to take too many shots from someone like Khalil Roundtree. He hits you in the right spot at the right time, and you don't get back up. And we know that Prochazka can get hurt and can get knocked out. And I think that Roundtree has gotten so much better at moving his feet, at getting in, getting out, and not forcing things. And, you know, BP, you mentioned a lot of great things about his improvements. I also think you really have to give credit, and I talk about this a lot of certain guys, of taking the right fights to build up your career. And Roundtree has done such a good job of doing that, of picking the right fighters at the right time. And here he is at the top of the division. And I think he's fighting Prochazka at a time where Prochazka is getting better. I think if Prochazka is much better defensively, I think Prochazka can absolutely win this fight. We know how good his offense is and how awkward and unorthodox it is to fight someone like him. It's only something that you can experience in real time. How Roundtree adjusts to that, it's going to be interesting. However, I agree, Brian. I think you got to go with the underdog here in this fight. I like Roundtree. I think he's the more powerful guy. If he does land that one shot, yeah, I think he wins this. And I wouldn't be surprised if he wins this by knockout. So give me Khalil Roundtree Jr.
All right, right back to Ken Flo now as we get you the co-main event predictions. Undisputed bantamweight title on the line. Merab Dvalishvili minus 375. Cory Sandhagen plus 295. So, Kenny, Cory Sandhagen fought Petr Yan for the interim title. That was back in 2021, but this will be his first crack at undisputed gold. His 8th straight 5-round fight. So a lot of high-level experience accrued by Cory Sandhagen. The title shot arrives at age 33, fighting prime. The Aurora, Colorado native now tries to do what nobody recently has been able to do, upend the already remarkable Dvalishvili as the champion. Ken Flo, who leaves Las Vegas as the undisputed bantamweight king?
Such a beautiful fight. Sandhagen is such a pleasure to watch, you know, how he puts together all of his different mixed martial arts skills and, you know, how locked in he is as a martial artist, as someone who's trying to improve and be a student of the game. I think he's put on a little bit more mass. He looks like he's put on some muscle. He's gotten bigger. He looks like he's become more explosive and powerful as a result as well, which is always a good thing. And he looked great against Deiveson Figueiredo in that last one. However, he also was getting taken down by someone like Deiveson Figueiredo. Merab Dvalishvili, if he takes you down, he's so good at controlling you and making your life a miserable hell. And for Sandhagen to win this fight, I think he's got to finish this one. He can't. I don't think you can decision someone like Merab Dvalishvili. If he does, I think it would be more impressive for Sandhagen to win by decision than if he gets a win by knockout. And hearing Trevor Whitman break down this fight and give coaching advice to Cory Sandhagen, he was saying how they're trying to work on him developing more kill shots. And I think that's the approach here. You can't try to win rounds against someone like Merab. I just don't think it's going to happen. Not with Sandhagen's style and with his game. I think he's got to be more aggressive. Now, how do you change that mold? How do you change someone's natural inclination to do something in a training camp to just all of a sudden do it during the fight? I think that's extremely difficult to change the nature of a fighter. And that's essentially what Trevor Whitman's going to try to do. Now, we've seen it done before, but it is very rare. And because of that, I have a hard time believing that Cory Sandhagen's going to be able to stop this menace of a wrestler in Merab Dvalishvili. I think Dvalishvili's takedown, his pacing, his conditioning, and his improving submission game, and just all-around greediness and toughness is going to be tough for anybody in that division to defeat. I see Merab losing that belt when he retires. That's when he gives that up, I think.
Wow.
So give me Merab Dvalishvili over Cory Sandhagen. Yeah, it's going to be a good fight, though.
Hey, Ryan Hall, you listen. What about Cory Sandhagen by submission, 28-1? I mean, grab a leg. You never know, right? And
yeah,
it is interesting.
That
Merab
is one of the ways.
Dvalishvili at times does lose focus in fight because he is so incredible that he can show
cheering or talking to the fans.
And so, you know, I don't know. If I'm Sandhagen, I might maybe play possum, or I think there are a lot of different things that can happen inside this octagon, as you well know, Brian. This will already be the 3rd title defense for Dvalishvili. He's won 13 in a row. Feels like if he beats Sandhagen, fighter of the year is clinched. But how do you see the co-main event going down, BP?
Yeah, I love this fight, and Kenny broke it down excellently. I wish I could disagree with him, but I can't because he's so smart. But yeah, the only thing that is going to get Merab in my point is like a Tyron Woodley right hand over Robbie Lawler, a Rose head kick over Zhang Weili, like something like that, surprising, that stuns the crowd. Like, but I don't know even if that could take a Merab out, because Merab has a good chin and he's been hurt and he fucking recovers like Wolverine. You know what I mean? That's that cardio base. Like, so you hurt him and he recovers, and Sandhagen does have these kill shots. The flying knee over Frankie Edgar was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. I mean, it was unbelievable. He had Frankie moving forward right into the knee. Sandhagen has these explosive stuff, but I keep going back to the Umar fight. And Umar, you know, shut him down with the fear of wrestling. He landed 5 takedowns, 5 out of 12. Cory has worked desperately and really improved on his takedown defense and his offense, because he took Rob Font down 7 times. But it shut us down striking. He got outstruck by Umar, you know, and now you got Merab out here saying it's 90% going to be a striking fight. I'm not even going to want to wrestle with him. Then you got Trevor Whitman saying we want him to wrestle with him. We're not going to be afraid of that. I think if you're Cory Sandhagen, you got to go in there with the mentality of this dude can take me down whenever he wants, but I got to let it go and can't affect me, because I think he got froze and did not perform his best against Umar. That's a learning lesson here. So you got to go out and you got to land that kill shot and you got to be prepared to do it for 5 rounds because Merab's not stopping, right? And I agree with Kenny. I think Merab is a special individual. I love that he's already wanting to go back, run it back with Jan fight Jan in September or December, excuse me. He wants to be active. He wants to do it. And now the emphasis on his training is he wants to finish people, right? He's out there. I saw a video of he was rolling with Demetrius Johnson, who I know is much smaller, but he's fucking squashing this dude, right? Merab is a thick dude, but he's not the biggest 35er, but he bodied Demetrius Johnson, who's a high-level black belt who I have a lot of respect for. I know I hasn't competed in MMA in a little bit, but that was impressive. And that was a guy who now is coming out here wanting to submit people and wanting to finish people. He just coming off a submission with Sean O'Malley. So I like Merab in this spot. I love Sandhagen. I love what he's done mentally, going to these different geniuses, Whitman, Ryan Hall, all these guys that really improve his game. He's Pac committed. I want to root for a guy like that. He loves what he does. He wants to be the best in the world. And I think he could be the best in the world if it just wasn't for Merab. I think Merab is just too good for anybody right now at this division, or in this division, excuse me, I should say. And I like Merab, and maybe even sprinkle Merab a late submission, maybe 4th and 5th round. If Sandhagen's a little bit flustered, we get some kind of choke or something. That'd be a nice little interesting prop.
Dvalishvili plus 750 right now on the submission front. We got to move it forward. Light heavyweight championship. Magomed Ankalaev minus 258. Alex Pereira plus 210. First meeting back in March. That title shot, of course, a long time coming for Magomed Ankalaev. When it materialized, he did not miss. Now he says he's going to turn in an even more dominant performance, potentially knock out Poatan. Ken Flo, the Pereira camp, Plenio Cruz, Glover Teixeira are going to make some adjustments. How do you see the main event playing out, and ultimately who leaves Las Vegas as the undisputed light heavyweight champion?
Well, I think they have to make adjustments. The thing that was most surprising to me was the fact that, Pereira didn't use his lead hand very much in that fight, whether it was injured or, maybe he didn't realize he needed to use it until later in the fight. It was very surprising. You have to be able to utilize that jab and not let Ankalaev just back you up whenever he wants. And it's going to disrupt the combinations of Ankalaev and make him less comfortable from that outside. I also think it's going to set up that nasty left hook that Pereira has. So I think that has to be one of the major changes. That said, it was still an extremely close fight. As I mentioned before, I actually thought Pereira won round 3. Could have gone the way of Ankalaev, but, I'm sure they're looking at that fight and looking at ways that they need to prevent Ankalaev from just backing him up without consequences. I think Pereira has to be way more aggressive. I think he has to throw with more intent to kill. I felt like he was almost fighting a sparring match in that last one against Ankalaev, whereas Ankalaev was trying to fight Pereira and really try to take him out. Now, Ankalaev can make some changes as well. Ankalaev, I think, could have been better with his entries on his takedowns, could have been more effective with his takedowns. He didn't really finish any of those, as we mentioned earlier in the show. But I do think he's the faster guy. He landed some really good 1-2s, so some really good combinations against Pereira, who was kind of got caught watching a little bit. Of course, he hurt him really badly in round 2. So I think Pereira needs to get off to a good start. He needs to stop those takedowns, and he needs to utilize that lead hand. I don't think those are major adjustments. We're not trying to change the makeup of the fighter in Pereira. So because of that, I like Pereira here. Yes, I think Ankalaev can definitely win this fight and can make some changes himself, but I don't think we saw the real Pereira in that fight, in that last one. With some minor adjustments, I think Pereira wins this and can maybe even stop him. So give me Alex Poatan Pereira.
He turned 38 back in July. He had knocked out 4 straight opponents at 205 pounds before running into Ankalaev back in March. So definitely a lot of power in this light heavyweight division. Ankalaev 21-1, Bri. He hasn't lost in almost 8 years. Ken Flo, forced to choose, thinks he loses this weekend. What do you think?
Yeah, great breakdown by Kenny, and I agree. The striking was really weird by Poatan. I feel like the leg kicks are there, and Ankalaev is a little heavy on that leg. Jan Blachowicz took advantage of that, and it doesn't take much for Poatan to hurt your legs. He has that really kind of short style leg kick right in the calf that fucked you up. I mean, it took Izzy out, who probably has numb shins at this point for all the kickboxing he's done. It's really weird, though. He said he went in there 40%. I tend to believe him. A lot of guys say, I shouldn't have fought. He said, I shouldn't have fought that night, and I believe him. Yeah. But I do believe that Ankalaev is an underrated guy. right? I want Poatan to win because I think it's better for the UFC. I'm a huge fan for him. This guy is a star. But the one thing that Kenny didn't touch on that I want to touch on is this guy is like at every event. He's traveling to Australia. He's going everywhere. When he first was in the UFC, he was grinding it out in Connecticut. And I'm sure he's going to all these different places. He's becoming a celebrity. He's training. But what does that do to a guy, right? You know, I don't know. And he wanted to keep a kickboxing schedule. He wanted to fight every couple months. He wanted to be active. Now he's slowing down. I know he's getting older. He's, you know, and it's not so easy for him to fight because he's such a big star and the UFC's got to put promotion around him. But I don't know. The mentality there is scaring me a little bit for being a big Poatan fan. I think Ankalaev is saying all the right things, and he stood right in front of Poatan and outstruck him. And he went 0 for 12 on takedowns and landed one takedown in that fight. And I think he's going to look for some takedowns now. I think he's going to mix it up a little bit better here, and he buzzed Poatan as well in that fight, and I think he's going to look to continue to do that. So I'm opposite here. I don't like picking against Poatan. He's one of my favorite fighters to watch, but I'm going Big Ant for this fight.
Nicely handled, fellas, and that's my favorite when they're on different sides, especially of a championship main event. All right, our final act, you know what it is. Place your bets, brought to you by JohnAnik.com and KennyFlorian.com, where you can enjoy 15% off your show-supporting merchandise order with promo code UFC 320. All right, Petrie's been waiting 2 weeks for me to update these standings because he was down over $18,000 on the year, but he had 1,500 on Diego Lopez at Noche UFC at plus 210. That paid you $31.50. Then you had $1,500 on Terrence Bud Crawford at plus 145. That paid you $21.75. So Petrie cleans up a good chunk of his mess. Plus $5,325 for the week. Shaves your annual nut down to minus $12,853.
Take it.
Ken Flo was at plus $657 and change going into that Noche UFC Canelo versus Crawford weekend. You did lose a dime on Canelo, a dime on Jean-Lord Silva. You hit your $1,000 bet on Kelvin Gastelum, which paid $377.36. Then last week, we mentioned Curtis Hoagland filled in. We're not going to give you that $833, Brian.
Fair.
Ken Flo, you hit your $250 straight wager on Jimmy Crute, plus 135 there. No action on your Louis Sutherland bet. Yeah. And then you did lose your $500 two-leg parlay on Ulberg and Matthews, which is just insane. I feel like I actually discretionarily could give you that $500 or maybe $250. Petrie and I will talk about that offline. But ultimately, year to date for Ken Flo, minus 1,330. So the deficit is $11,552 or so. So, Brian, not insurmountable.
No,
you have $3,000 to spend at UFC 320. How are you breaking up your cash?
Listen, we're going for it. We're going for it. There's no KISS. There's no keep it simple, stupid. We're getting cute here. I got an and still parlay here, Johnny. I got Merab and Big Ank winning and still. That's minus 133 on DraftKings Sportsbook right now. Let's put 1,500 on it, okay? 15 big ones. Give me Khalil Roundtree plus 145 for 1,000. Just $1,000 off the rip. Yep. We got 500 left. I'm going to get a little cute here. So give me Patchy Mix by KO. Don't have the number for you yet. That's $250. And then give me Gautier and Pfeiffer both parlayed together. Round one KOs. $250 as well.
All right, I'm just writing all of this stuff down. So I have that's $3,250 that you spent. 1,500, 1,000. Did you do $250 on the mixed KO?
$250 on each. Yeah, the mixed KO, it's a parlay.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Ken Flo, $3,000. Take it away, my man.
All right. Well, I'm going for it here as well. It's going to be interesting. All right. So I like Emmett here. Give me 150. A little sprinkle 150 for Josh Emmett. Let's go, my man. And then I'm going to put 850 on Khalil Roundtree.
Okay.
Give me 1,500 on Merab Dvalishvili.
Okay.
And then give me 500 for Alex Pereira.
I love it. I love it. Woo. And again, the whole card is up right now on DraftKings Sportsbook. A lot of those propositions will be out later in the week. BP, you're the man. Have a great day and a better evening. And we will talk to you on the other side, as they say. Enjoy the pay-per-view.
See you, boys.
Thank you. All right, we got to get on out of here. Thank you so much to Ray Longo, Brian Petrie, Jason Anik helping coordinate behind the scenes. Our executive producer is Cody Merrow. We are back to recap UFC 320 live Monday. It might be at noon Eastern, might be at 11 a.m., but thank you for watching. We will see you after the pay-per-view. For Ken Flo, I'm John Anik. Enjoy the fights. Until next week, see you later.
Kenny Florian, I got him, baby. We did it.
I love this shit.